What's going on, guys? Welcome back to your Lake Fork Guide. Hey, today we're going to talk about one of the best bass fishing techniques for catching really big bass in shallow water. We're going to give you a complete how-to, a complete guide to frog fishing. Frog fishing, I'm sure it gets you excited. Just hearing the word frog fishing makes me tremor a little bit. It gets me a little fired up because there's not much more fun things to do than watch a bass hit a frog. They hit frogs so violently and so hard, man, and it's right on top, very visual where you can see it. Oftentimes it's pretty close to the boat. You're in tight to cover. So today I wanted to break down, it's a frog bite right now, guys. It's May. May is a good time of year to throw frogs. And the situation at Lake Fork, and we kind of talked about it earlier in the year, but the situation Lake Fork is in, as you can see around me, there is water in bushes and grasses and just all kinds of flooded stuff everywhere you go on Lake Fork. And that is just a tremendous time to throw a frog when you have that situation. So, and a lot of lakes are in a similar situation to Fork. We were all in a drought last year. We've all had a lot of rain this pre-spawn and spawn period. So pretty much all of our lakes are in a similar situation where they have a lot of flooded cover up along the banks and in the backs of pockets and coves and all that stuff. So frog fishing should be a valid technique anywhere in this region right now, honestly. You know, the thing about frog fishing is it's not just throw it out there and bloop it around and splash it around, or even, it's not even just throw it out there and walk it. Sometimes you can throw it out there and just walk it and catch some fish, but there's different things that you can do to a frog action-wise that will make them bite. We're gonna let you guys in on some of those things today. First thing you got to do though, when you're fishing, you're trying to pull a 6, 7, 8 pounder, which you will catch on a frog. That's one of the best things about it. It catches giant fish, right? Like it catches huge ones. So when you're trying to pull a really big bass out of this stuff that you see behind me, this thick cover, you got to have the right gear or you're basically going to go home disappointed because you're going to lose a lot of fish. You might break your line. You might break a rod if you don't have the right rod. It's so much force and impact on these short casts and this heavy cover and big fish. There's a lot of stress on your gear, so you want to make sure that you have the right equipment. That's super, super important. Let's start with the line. I like to use 50-pound Power Pro. A lot of guys will go 65. You can if you want to. Man, 50 is plenty strong for me. Like, it's like, if you're breaking and snapping 50-pound braid, you probably got something going on besides the line, because it's very, very difficult to snap 50-pound braid on a hook setter just from even pulling on it. Very difficult. Hang it up. You'll figure it out. It's hard to break off, I assure you. So the line's important. It needs to be braided line when you're fishing a frog. I know back in the day some guys used to throw frogs on mono, but man, if you're around, number one, all that stretch, you're not going to get as good a hook set on mono. And number two, you know, frogs come with big heavy gauge, you know, heavy wire hooks on them, most of them, so you need the no stretch of the braid for the hook set. But two, also, if you get down in this vegetation, man, that mono, that fish is going to ball you up in there and you're going to lose a lot of them. They're going to come off. Whereas with that braid, you can cut the grass. The braid will actually, as you pull the line tight, you can feel it on your finger. Well, it'll cut your skin. Well, it'll cut those stems and stuff on that vegetation the same way it would cut you if you pulled it real, real tight and ran your hand on it real hard. So it actually cuts you free of that grass when you're reeling those fish in most of the time. So the next part of the equipment is going to be your rod and your reel. Now, for your rod, there's a couple different options that I like to use. And I've got two different rods that I like to use for a frog. One is our 7.5 heavy LGB rod. By the way, we've got these LGB rods. I've designed them. These are American-made blanks, and they are put together one at a time right here at Lake Fork with a guy that I've been working with on building them. And but I've picked out the sizes and the flexes and all the design aspects of it. And man, these rods have been phenomenal. They're super light. They're just amazing. And when you're talking about a tough rod that's going to yank some fish out of heavy cover, you got one right here. The American-made blank, it's going to be real durable. In fact, we have not had a single blank break yet. 0 breaks so far with these rods. So been really, really proud of how they've come out. But our 7.5 heavy, now, that's a meat stick right there in my hands, guys. Like, that is a broomstick, whatever you want to call it. Like, it is stout. It's a big, heavy action rod. And that is great for yanking frogs out of cover. It's a little bit more difficult to impart some of the more subtle actions we'll talk about later with this rod. So another rod that I like to use is our 7/6 medium heavy. Our 7/6 medium heavy will, cast a frog forever, number one, but it's got enough softness in the tip. It makes it super easy to put subtle walking and subtle darting actions on the frogs that we'll show you how to do later. I can do it with the 7.5 heavy, but it's a lot easier and a lot less work with the 7.6 medium heavy. But I will tell you, there's times with that 7.6 medium heavy, they get you down in the junk. You might have to go over there and get them instead of bringing them to you. That 7.5 heavy so stout, you're bringing them and the bush and the grass and all that's coming to you. So it's kind of a personal preference on which rod you want to throw a frog on. For the reel, I throw a Lew's Super Duty LFSG. I don't like a big bulky reel, but I do want one that has like oversized gears and oversized handles, and that Lew's Super Duty LFSG fits that bill. You want a reel that is tough and will hold up. There is a lot of stress on your equipment in this fishing. Braided line, heavy cover, big fish, that sudden hook set, that sudden jerk hook set you have on a frog, you're going to put a lot of stress on your equipment. So having a reel that's a good quality reel, a high-end reel, and has big gears, like these Super Duties are built with bigger internal parts in them, and they also have bigger handles on them. The bigger handle is because, man, a lot of times you set a hook on a frogfish, you want to get that thing on the surface and keep him there and keep him coming to you. So those bigger handles are going to help you have a better grip on that reel and help you wind it that much faster. And high speed gear ratio, this is an 8.1 to 1, 8.3 to 1, 8.3 to 1 high speed gear ratio reel. I think that's important for frog fishing. When you hook one, it is important to try to make sure it doesn't dive down in that cover as little as possible. You want to keep them on the surface, keep them coming to you till you get them out close to the boat, and then you can let them swim a little bit if you want to do that. But while they're in that junk, keep them up and keep them out. All right, let's talk about, before we move on to areas, let's talk about the frog. We might need to discuss the frog, right? So all kinds of frog options out there. There's some that got pointy noses, some that got popping lips, there's some that got legs that squinch together, and I mean, there's all kinds of options out there. Man, I'm a keep it simple, stupid kind of guy, and I like popping frogs that I can walk. That allows me to fish it in a straight line if I want to, or fish it side to side and walk it, and it allows me to throw some extra water with those popping style lips on them. Now, for years I've been a Spro frog guy, and it's been a good frog to me over the years, but it's not perfect by any means. And there's lots of options out there, and there's lots of good ones, but there's a new one on the market now that I have I'm talking about within the last week or two, started fishing with. And it is the best frog I've ever fished with. It's called a Toad Thumper. Well, it's from Toad Thumper Lures, but it's just called Walking Frog is what it's called. But it's from Toad Thumper Lures. Actually, he's got two different ones. He's got a popping frog and a walking frog. I didn't even know that. That's a walking frog. I didn't even mean to buy that one. I meant to buy this popping frog, which is the one I have on my line right here. And you guys can see that popping mouth on that. Now, he's got a walking frog, but I'm gonna tell you, this frog right here will walk with the best of them in the popping mode. So I accidentally bought the walking one. I would buy just the popping one because I can do both and all things with that one. But a few things about this frog that make it kind of special. Like I said, I'm kind of new to it, but it's just blown me away. The first thing that blows me away is the buoyancy of this frog. It rides high in the water column. It floats really high. And what that does is allow it to walk very easily, as you'll see in some of the footage we're showing you today. This frog will just about turn on a dime when you're twitching it just right. Just an unbelievable action. You can walk it real quick and it'll go back and forth at a fast rate of speed. You can take your time and it'll almost glide out of the twitches. It just has a lot of great attributes in the action that you can put on it with the way it's designed. The other thing is the body. You'll notice the body's very soft. Body's very soft, which is great for your hookup ratio. It also comes with these little tiny grooves, and I don't know if you can see those or not, but those grooves are made for the hooks to sit in, and it's open up in front of that, which does allow for better hookup ratio as well. Now, I will tell you, when you get this frog, those hooks sit pretty tight down in those grooves, and they still hook fish pretty good because of the way those grooves are designed. But myself, I actually have come around to what I do is I turn the hooks out, I mean, ever so slightly. I'll get you as close a look as I can at that, but I turn the hooks out that way ever so slightly just to get a little extra gap between my hook point and the body. Basically, if I run my finger down real light like this, see that how that didn't catch the first time? That needs to be bent out a little more. I bet on this side it catches right there. If I can just lightly run my finger down that frog and it catches every time, I'm in good shape. That's my test for that. One cool thing I like about this frog, other than tweaking the hooks ever so slightly, there's no other adjustments. You don't need to trim the legs. The legs are the right length. They're perfect. Everything about it's pretty much good. You can literally take this frog out of the box, tie it on, and go, and it's going to be a really good frog. I do, however, like I said, like to touch the hooks out just ever so slightly on these Toad Thumper lures. One other thing of note that's kind of cool, it's a Texas-based company because it's owned by Cody Cannon of Whiskey Myers. Literally a rock star is designing and building and selling these frogs. So that's pretty freaking awesome in and of itself. And on top of that, it's a guy from East Texas down there around Natchez in that river bottom land or whatever they say in that song. Yeah, so that's a pretty cool aspect of it as well. As far as areas go, let's talk about the areas you need to fish this frog right now. Man, on Lake Fork and most of our lakes around here, there's so much flooded cover. You want to visually see what I'm seeing right now looking down this shoreline. You want to see flooded vegetation, flooded bushes, junk. You want to see junk. Now, there's an overwhelming amount of that in some of our lakes, so how do you narrow down where you go to? What I would tell you is this. To me, the best areas are going to be where the fish have the least options. There's something to be said for deep to shallow water transitions where they've got deep water nearby and they can just pull up in the bushes on a cloudy day or early in the morning, late in the evening, they can just slide out of deep water into that and feed. That is the thing. That is the type of area you want to focus on. But my favorite areas are the areas where the fish don't have that option, because now they're going to stay in that cover all day, every day, regardless of conditions. So what I like to do is get way far back in the backs of big creeks and big pockets where there's miles of water less than 10 foot deep, right? Like, you know, if you've got a mile or more of where the water's all 10 foot in the middle or less, get back in those areas where those fish literally have to travel miles to find deeper water. I feel like so many of those fish just stay in that year round. They don't know the other option exists, I don't think. Like, they just kind of hang back there. So I really like to get way back in some big creeks and get in some really flat and shallow stuff. And now once I'm back there, I'm going to stay around whatever is the most relatively deep water. So when I get to the back of those areas, I do stay around the creek channels and drains, and I fish the stuff on the edge of that. Wherever you've got the flooded cover, let's say you've got flooded cover like we do on Fork out to about 4 foot right now, which is what we got. So I'll get back in an area, let's say the creek channel 6, 7, 8, 9 foot deep, and then right on the outside edge of the creek channel, it's 4 foot or less. Well, there's flooded stuff coming all the way out to the edge of the creek channel in a lot of those areas. That is the sweet spot right now for me, is getting back in those areas where the fish don't have an option, and then hang around the deepest water they have within that massive area of shallow water and fish the cover that's adjacent to that. That's been the best areas for me. But the truth of the matter is, it's May, the water temps aren't that hot yet, and you can literally grab a frog and go down the bank where it looks good with flooded stuff and probably catch some. I mean, that's the reality of the matter right now. All right, let's get up on the front deck of this sucker and let's show you guys a couple of tricks to make that frog do some dancing. Gotta make that frog like juju on that beat, you know what I mean? And they bite it. Hey guys, a couple things I want to mention to y'all that can help you guys out on your fishing trips, man. First thing is the Fish Life app. You guys can subscribe to our Fish Life app Lake Fork Premium Package. We update those spots every month. We also have other lakes as well, but the way that works is like on Lake Fork, you've got myself. I'm putting new spots on Lake Fork every single month. Hey, this frog bite just took off over the last week. Guess what's on there right now? Some fresh frog spots. We had spawning stuff on there when the spawning was going on, shallow points. We're always changing it out as the patterns change on Lake Fork. There's no other app on earth where you've got a guy that's on the water full time and he's giving you waypoints of areas that are holding fish, what type of area that is, what bait to catch them on. You've never had the quality of advice that you will have from the Fish Life app. We've got Lake Fork, we've got Sam Rayburn, we've got Toledo Bend, we've got Louisville and Grapevine and Hubbard and Lavon and Texoma and Ivy and Amistad. And we've got some little smaller lakes in East Texas like Athens and Hallbrook, and we've got our power plant lakes being Welsh and Brandy Branch and Martin Creek. We've got Lake of the Pines, Lake Palestine. We've got a pretty good list of lakes. I've probably missed some, but there's a lot of lakes on our Fish Life app, and if you want the #1 way to get the most easy and efficient help that you can get, the Fish Life app, spelled with a Y, L-Y-F-E, would be my #1 suggestion, and it is linked in the description, of course. All right, so we get a frog on out here, show you guys how we're working it now. The #1 way I've been fishing it, in May, fish are chasing. They're running around chasing bait. They're active this time of year. So I've been doing what I call the skitter walk, the bowl bait fish skitter, right? And so what I do is I'll actually hold my rod down like this and twitch it real fast. Just twitch it real fast, and that bait's just going across the surface. And I'll do that, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 twitches and then stop. Give it a couple single twitches, maybe one single twitch, and then go back to that bait's just sliding across the surface side to side real fast. Stop it, give it a couple single twitches, go back to twitching it real fast. you got to remember these fish, they're keyed into running stuff down right now. So like, you don't really have to fish slow. Of course, there's always the walking a frog, just a straight up walking a frog retrieve that can work, and certainly can work right now or at any other time. And that's just a rhythmic twitch, 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 non-stop, all the way back, however close you want to fish it to the boat. One more retrieve I'm about to show you guys that can really draw a bigger bite, especially. And when fish are more stationary, a little earlier in the spring or sometimes later in the summer, when fish get a little more stationary, this is the retrieve to go to. And it's going to be hard, fast twitches of your frog to make it go from dead still to holy crap and then stop again. It's just going to be like nothing, nothing, like it's just, you'll see what I mean. So I'll actually, okay, I got my slack right, I'm ready to twitch it, so I'll hit it. Twitch, 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 twitch. And I'm popping that thing hard, like hard. And when you do that, that frog will, and it'll actually sometimes suck under the water, and it sounds like a fish is eating your frog if you're doing this action just right. All right, so one more thing that I wanted to discuss with you guys about twitching this frog. There's a certain technique to it that's going to help you twitch this bait more effectively. The one thing that you need to know is a lot of people will have slack in their line, and they will twitch to the end of their slack and then keep pulling. Let's point the camera down here real quick. So you see I've got slack. You're going to get down there and get close to it. All right, so you see I've got slack in my line. So when I twitch, right there is where my twitch should stop. But a lot of people hit the end of that slack and keep coming a little bit. And what that does is that slides the frog forward too much when I pull through the slack. So people will go like this, and they think they're twitching the frog, they're pulling it. So you don't want to pull through the end of your slack. So right there, when I hit the end of my slack is when I want my twitch to stop. See, I'm stopping right when my line gets tight, I'm stopping. And what that's going to allow you to have that sharp, sudden walk of the frog. It's going to allow you to have that really good side-to-side skitter run we were talking about. And it's going to give you that side-to-side darting and even sucking under the water action on that third retrieve that we showed you. But you have to stop your twitch at the end of the slack. And I'm going to show you one way that's going to make it easier for you to do that real quick. Point the camera up here. So one thing that you want to do is line your rod up on your forearm. Have your rod lined up on your forearm. And when you twitch it, try to time the end of your slack with that rod hitting your forearm. When you hit the rod on the end of your forearm, see how my rod bounces back toward, like if I was twitching, if my frog was over here, when I hit my forearm, see how the rod goes back to it? Every time, the rod bounces right back towards where the bait's coming from. As it hits your forearm, it makes that rod tip go back that way. And what that causes is a situation on your line where it goes tight slack, tight slack, tight slack every time you do that. And if you can get to where you can time up the end of your slack with that rod hitting your forearm, you will have a sudden and violent and reactive action on your frog that will 100% guarantee you more and bigger bites on a frog. You will become a better frog fisherman and catch more and better fish if you learn that technique. All right, last but certainly not least, let's discuss the hook set, right? Because that's always a topic of discussion with a frog is, man, how long do I wait when they bite? Man, you don't. The answer is you don't wait at all. I don't wait at all. So what I'll be doing is I'll go along here and I'll twitch, twitch, twitch. When one blows up on it, the first thing I'm going to do is put a foot behind me, point my rod at the fish, and reel up slack. Now that happens really, really fast. As you can see in some video clips, it's da-da-da-da-da, and I'll go like this and point and reel. And by that time, that is more hesitation than I need. That's all the hesitation I need. The reality of a frog fish is when he blows up on it and that frog goes under, he's either got it or he doesn't. He's not gonna sit down there and the frog's in his face and he's gonna re-grab it. Like, his best chance to get it's on the initial blow up. The only thing you're gonna do by waiting, I feel like, is give him a chance to spit it out. So I don't like to wait. So it's twitch, 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 twitch. They blow up, boom, step back, hit, and then drop the hammer, and always set with this hand to your right shoulder. If you could have just seen how much my frog moved when I did that, my frog moved 8 feet when I did that. You gotta think, that rod tip's out here, you're gonna move that much line from way out there to all the way back here. That's how much line you're moving. You're gonna get the hook in them if you set it to your right shoulder. I see too many people get a frog bite. We'll do it like this so we can show you guys. We'll pin the frog down so I ain't gotta worry about it flying it myself or my cameraman. So I see too many people, they twitch, 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 they get a bite with the frog and they kind of wait, and then they set it down here. That's not what you want. You want to set the hook up. You want to try to drill that frog into the top of their mouth every chance you get. You know, they're flipping and flopping and you know, splashing on top of the water when they're eating that frog. So there's no telling where the hook's going to be in them. Do not hesitate on your frog bait. There's a natural hesitation if you gather your feet to get a good hook set. There's a natural hesitation that is all the hesitation you'll ever need to set the hook good on a frogfish. That was cool. Oh, you lost him. Gone. She gone. There, okay. Oh yeah, he down there. He down there somewhere. You thumped that toad. All right, guys, that's it for today's frog fishing instructional, man. Go check out Toad Thumper Lures. They're popping frog. Couldn't recommend that one enough. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not getting paid by them. There's none of that going on here. It's just a good frog, and if you want to catch more frogfish, that one will help you do it versus the other frogs that I have seen on the market from my personal viewpoint, opinion, whatever that's worth. Probably not much. Hey, I appreciate you guys watching as always, and we will see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.